I set a manila folder under the sweet tea pitcher at our own Sunday dinner, with both families at the table, and my wife laughed at something her mother said without any idea what was sitting 8 inches from her plate. Inside that folder was her affair, printed out, 6 weeks of it. She poured herself more tea, and the pitcher came down right on top of it. And I remember thinking, hold it down for me a little longer. 6 weeks earlier, I did not know any of it. I am 48. I was married for 17 years, and we have a son who is 8. We lived in a house we built together, 3,000 square feet, the one with the porch her father helped me stain the summer we moved in. First Sunday of every month, both families came to that house for dinner. Her people, my people, one long table and a kid's table in the den. That was our tradition. She started it. The whole thing came apart because of $9. I sat down one night to cancel one of those streaming services we kept paying for and never watched. $9 a month. I was just cleaning up bills. And when I went into the account settings to shut it off, the screen showed me every device signed into our account. Our living room, our bedroom, my phone, her mother's old set, still on there from when we hooked it up for her, and a smart television called River House. We do not have a River House. I told myself it was a rental from our beach week last summer, something that never got signed out. That happens. People forget. I almost closed the screen, but there was a little line under the name, and the line said, last active Sunday, 10:50 in the morning. Sunday at 10:50 in the morning, my wife plays in a pickleball league every Sunday since spring. League at 9, brunch with the girls after, home around 2 with her hair still damp from the shower at the club. I looked at that device and I heard her voice in my head saying brunch ran long, and I went cold. I did not cancel the subscription. $9 a month turned into the best money I ever spent. And before I closed the screen that night, I opened the watch history for that television. It ran back to early spring. I did not say one word to her. The next Sunday, I dropped our son at my brother's for the morning, and I drove past the courts at the recreation center, public parking lot, 20 feet off the road. Her car was not in it. I sat there through 2 full games of strangers playing, and her car never came. And at 6 that evening, she walked into our house with her gym bag over her shoulder and told me the league went to a tiebreaker. I said that sounded fun. Then I went out to my truck in the driveway and checked the account on my phone. River House, active that morning, 9:51. The Sunday after that, I stood on my own porch with a cup of coffee and waved to her as she backed out with her gym bag in the passenger seat. She waved back. She honked twice at the end of the drive, our old signal. And I stood there smiling at a woman driving to another man's house because my attorney had told me to be patient. The Monday after that first drive-by, I had called a divorce attorney, not to file, to ask what I was allowed to do, because I have watched men blow up their own cases on television my whole life, and I was not going to be one of them. He told me 3 things, and I wrote all 3 on a card I kept in my truck. 1, in this state, if a spouse cheats before there is any signed agreement, alimony is off the table for good. The law here does not split the difference. 2, the proof has to be solid. Not a feeling, not a rumor, not a friend who heard something, photographs, dates, and a professional who can sit in a courtroom and swear to how he got them. 3, and he leaned on this one, from the moment you know and can prove it, you do not go back to living as husband and wife, because if you do, the law can take that as forgiveness, and forgiveness puts alimony right back on the table. So that night I moved into the den. I told her I threw my back out moving the mower, and the recliner was the only thing that did not light it up. She brought me ibuprofen and a glass of water and kissed the top of my head, and I lay there in the dark under the same roof as a woman I had slept next to for 17 years, and I did not close my eyes until almost 3. She never once asked me back to bed. I noticed that. Those weeks were the hardest acting of my life. I grilled on Saturdays. I fixed the gate latch her father kept mentioning. I sat through a parent conference at the school with her knee touching mine and took notes about our son's spelling. One of those Sundays was our regular first of the month dinner, both families at my table, and I passed the rolls and refilled the tea and said nothing. And every night I went back to the recliner in the den and lay there running it over and over. 17 years, a house on a river I had never seen. The attorney gave me the name of an investigator. I met him once, paid a retainer, handed him 3 things: her league schedule, a photo of her car, and the words River House. He never set foot on anybody's property. Everything from public roads, everything time-stamped, that was the deal. It took him 3 Sundays. Her car, parked beside a gray truck at a house on the river about 40 minutes north. Her on the porch of that house in a swimsuit at 10 in the morning with a coffee mug in her hand, comfortable, at home, a woman who clearly knew which cabinet held the mugs. And the man. He plays in her league, mixed doubles. I had heard his first name across our dinner table, dropped in the middle of league stories, hiding in a crowd of other names. She had been saying his name to my face all spring. The last photo in the folder was the 2 of them in the doorway saying goodbye, in a way that nobody says goodbye to a doubles partner. Here is why I exposed her at dinner instead of alone in our living room. A year ago, she and I had an argument in our garage. Private, just us, voices raised, nothing anyone would remember in a month. By that weekend, her version of it had made the rounds, and in her version, I was unraveling. I was scaring her. And my own mother called me on a Monday to ask, gently, if I was drinking, give her any room I was not standing in, and by the time she finished talking, I was the problem. She had a year of practice explaining me to people who loved me. If I confronted her in our living room, by Friday the story would be that I ambushed her, that I was paranoid, that she was frightened. Her parents would fold her in. Mine would go quiet. I had watched the woman work. I was not giving her a head start on the story. So I waited for the first Sunday of the month. I told my brother that morning, him and nobody else, so the kids would stay in the den no matter what happened at that table. Then I cooked the same dinner I always cook, and I put the folder under the sweet tea pitcher, and before dessert I asked my brother to start a movie for the kids. The folder had sat there through the whole meal, looking like the mail pile I never deal with, one corner gone soft where the pitcher sweated on it. Her mother was in her usual seat, straight across from her daughter. When the table was just adults, I took the folder out and set it in front of my wife. I kept my voice level and I said, "There is a house on the river 40 minutes north of here. Our television account has been signed in there since spring. You have been there every Sunday while this family thought you were at your league. The man is from your league. It is all in the folder, and a copy is already with my attorney." The room did not make a sound. My wife looked at the folder and did the strangest thing. She smiled. It lasted half a second, the smile of someone reaching for the version of the story where this is all silly. And she said, "It is a work thing. You have lost your mind." And she flipped the folder open, I think to wave it off. The photograph on top faced her mother. Her mother put both hands flat on the table and looked out the window and did not look back. Her father stood up and I braced because he is a big man and it was his daughter. He picked up his coat off the hook by the door. He stopped next to my chair on the way out, put his hand on my shoulder and squeezed once, and that was the whole conversation. Then he waited in the truck for his wife. My wife went from silly to furious to something I had never seen, all in about 90 seconds, and the word she kept saying was ambush. You ambushed me in front of my family. And I said the one sentence I had practiced in the den every night since the drive-by. I did not do this in front of your family. You did this behind their backs. Her mother did something on the way out that I still think about. She carried her plate and her husband's plate to the sink, rinsed both, and set them in the rack like it was any other Sunday. At the door, she stopped in front of me, and she is a small woman, and she reached up and straightened my collar and left without a word. My brother stayed. He kept the kids in the den through all of it, movie loud, and when the house finally emptied, he came out, looked at the untouched pie on the counter, and said, "Well, I am not letting it go to waste." We sat at that wrecked table, the two of us, and ate pie while my hands came down from shaking, and he never once asked why I had kept it from him, and I will owe him for that until I die. She left that night for her parents' house, 46 years old, back in her childhood bedroom. I filed that week on adultery. In this state, you do not wait around on a separation clock for that. It moves. Her first position, through her lawyer, was alimony. 17 years, one child, the house. The number they floated would have run me past retirement. Her lawyer had not seen the folder yet. I would bet she told her lawyer there was nothing behind the filing. We sat down in a conference room 6 weeks in, her side of the table and mine, and my attorney slid the folder across without a word. The same folder. I watched a professional page through it with a flat face while his client stared at the wall over my head. Halfway through, he asked for 10 minutes in the hallway with her. It was closer to 40. When they came back, alimony was not mentioned again. Not softened, not reduced, removed, like it had never been said. The law here is not negotiable, and the photographs were as solid as the investigator promised. She asked for alimony exactly once. While the lawyers worked, I did the other thing. Once the first lie was proven, I stopped trusting the whole calendar. I did a cheek swab on our son on a Wednesday night while he slept with his mouth wide open, and I mailed it with one of mine. And for 9 days, I did not sleep right. The envelope came on a Friday. He is mine. I stood in my driveway holding that paper, and I sat down on the tailgate, and my legs shook. The house came last. The court splits things close to even here, and her share of our equity was real, and I never fought it. The appraisal came in at $540,000. We owed $240,000. That left $300,000 between us, and her half was $150,000. She wanted the house at first, on principle, until her own numbers came back and made the decision for her. On one income, there was no world where she could carry a mortgage, taxes, insurance, and the upkeep on 3,000 square feet. Grass alone on that lot is a part-time job. I refinanced in my name and paid her the $150,000 for her half, and she signed the deed at her lawyer's office in under 10 minutes. She got exactly what the law owed her and not $1 more. No alimony. Half the equity she had built, bought out with the bank's money and my signature. Our son splits his weeks between us, and his room in that house has never changed. Same bed, same shelf, same crooked drawing of the four-wheeler taped to the closet door. The folder is in a safe deposit box now. My attorney says keep it 7 years. I would keep it 70. Then, about 4 months after the deed signing, I had coffee with one of my oldest friends, a woman I have known since before I ever met my wife, the friend who stood on my side at the wedding, who stayed on the edge of my wife's circle all these years because our families ran together. She stirred her coffee for a while without drinking any, and then she looked up and gave me the last piece. It was not the first time. That is what she said. The circle had gone quiet around me for years, and after the divorce, the quiet broke, and the stories came out of more than one mouth. Different names, different years. She said, "You were not married to a woman who slipped once. You were married to an expert. She was better at this than anybody I have ever known. And I am telling you now because you earned the truth and nobody else was going to hand it to you. I asked her why nobody said anything back then. She turned the cup in the saucer and said, "The first time any of us was halfway sure, your son was 3 weeks old. What was I supposed to carry into that house? Maybe." And after that, every year that went by made it harder to say anything. And we all told ourselves, you two seemed happy. She said, "I am not proud of it. It is just the truth of how these things stay buried. I did not ask for the names. I did not ask for the years. I paid for the coffee and I drove home. And my son's bike was laying in the driveway of the house I kept, back wheel still spinning, because he had heard my truck and run inside to beat me to the door. See you in the next one."